Hello and welcome to More Than the Score. Tony Moakley here, joined by Troy Zantuck, my compadre, my buddy, the man who has a cranium crammed with football facts. There we go. There's some alliteration for you, Troy. Beat that.
Good to be with you, Tone. And time is of the essence because just for the listeners, the viewers, Tone's percentage of his battery power is low, to say the least.
10%. So we've got to get cracking, Troy.
Great topic today.
What's that?
Great topic today, Tone.
It is a great topic, and you're going to nail it as you always do. Long-sleeved players in the AFL, VFL. I'm going to, just very quickly at the top, question without notice. Has there been a club that's never had a long-sleeve player?
No, they've all had long-sleeve players,
Right.
Tone. When it gets a bit cold, some of the blokes, the goose pimples, the chilblains come out, so they don the long sleeves. But there's been some absolute champions that have worn the long sleeve jumper, and one comes from your club.
Geez, there's a couple there. I would nominate one Cade Simpson off the top of the bat.
Yes, a great nomination. A 300 gamer, a man who's seen the trials and tribulations of the Carlton Football Club, the man who wears number 6. And I'll tell you what, number 1 for resilience, Cade Simpson.
Well, he really is. He's astonishing. You've also mentioned number 1, another long sleeve player at Carlton. Nice work there, Troy.
Thank you for the lead-in.
Go ahead, hit your lace out, I think.
Oh, you did. Beautiful. Well, let's talk about one of your idols, mate.
The great Sauce.
Yeah.
Magnificent. And son. Father and son in the long sleeve. I'm not sure if Serge went round in the long sleeve. Maybe he did. But
on occasion, the great man Sauce, obviously, from Marcelin College. I used to watch Sauce on the Herald Shield on Channel 7. That was the game played at night before the main night game.
Yep.
And all the colleges and like Assumption and Marcelin, St. Pat's, De La Salle, they used to go around in the Herald Shield, and that's where Sauce was plying his trade as a youngster. And then obviously Carlton picked him up, and 312 games later, 202 goals, become one of the all-time greats, AFL Team of the Century fullback, and just an incredible talent who could switch hit. He could play forward, and obviously fullback of the century says it all.
Well, I wonder if he spends his retirement wondering what could have happened if he played up forward, because as you say, he loved being up there. And I think some of the Marcelin games that you would have been watching, was he playing up forward? Because he was well capable of kicking bags.
Well, the great thing about Stephen Silvagni was his adaptability. And, over 200 goals, and you've been named the greatest fullback of all time.
That's a great point. Yeah. Yep.
That's an incredible achievement. Although I must say my personal best fullback of all time was actually David Dench from North Melbourne.
Yep.
He was a trailblazer. He was the guy who would dash from fullback and get the ball to centre wing to the half forward flank. And he was an absolute kingpin of those successful North Melbourne teams during the 70s.
Also in an era of great full forwards too, and that's...
Absolutely.
Yeah, to be able to negate, some of the great full forwards who were going around in that era, that's a champion effort by any measure.
And we spoke of one of those great full forwards last week, Tone, and he segues beautifully into today's show.
Who would that be?
The man who arrived by helicopter in 1973. Kicking 8 goals for the mighty Hawkers. Who am I talking about?
Oh, it wasn't Hutto, was it?
Oh, it was Hutto.
Oh!
Hutto. The man. 727 goals. We mentioned it last week. 129 games, but kicking that 8, arriving by helicopter. Just what a star. What a star.
I'm sure somebody, Hawthorn would have had somebody put on the staff role to console Hutto when he only got 8 goals a game. I'm sure he was in there disconsolate in the room. Nobody would go near him.
Yeah, a real bad 8 he kicked.
Yeah.
Bad 8. It's funny, he wore number 26 for most of his career, but when he come back in 1977, he donned the number 1 Guernsey. But you would most of the time, you'd always see Hutto in a long sleeve Guernsey.
Oh, magnificent. Well, it didn't do him any harm, did it? So now, who else have you got in the long sleeve journey with the 5% of battery power I've got left, Troy Zantuck?
Go through these real quick, Tone.
Let's
One
do
of
it.
the greatest players the Hawks that has ever had. 7 premierships, this guy. Famous for wearing the long sleeves.
I wonder who that would be.
Ball winner. Who am I talking about?
That'd be the great Michael Tuck, Troy.
Michael Tuck, you're spot on. And famously, in 1987, the 1987 grand final, Tucky donned the short sleeves.
It was an omen, a bad omen.
It was 31 degrees. And Tucky said, got to get out of the long sleeves, but a bad omen because the Blues got over the line. But he's famous. It's a famous day in Michael Tuck history.
I'd love to know what that jumper would be worth. That would be highly collectible, I would imagine.
Rick Milnes, your man.
Yeah, true.
When you get Rick on next week, Tone.
I'm going to ask him that on the 3AW overnight show where you appear every Friday morning, Troy.
That'd be a great question to ask, and I think it'd generate a lot of listenership.
I think you're right.
So we've gone through Michael Tuck, one of the all-time greats. Now, one of my favourites from St Kilda, a high flyer, blonde hair.
Extraordinary.
The women love
player. Larger than life off the ground.
Larger than life off the ground. That's a great quote. Yeah. 230 games for the Sainers. Hall of Famer, team of the century, the great Trevor Barker.
Amazing. Just what you talk to anybody who came in contact with him, and you know it was an unforgettable experience.
The St Kilda Social Club was one of the places where people used to gravitate to after the games, and Barks always held court at the St Kilda.
He did, and when in 2000, you remember St Kilda, unlike any other team, did a nightclub team of the century. And Trevor Barker was captain.
Oh, surprise, surprise. Oh, that's great. We need to do one of those.
Yeah, yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Because I know that battery, the juice is being squeezed out of it as we speak.
It is.
One of the greats, a man who won a Brownlow medal in his first year coming over from South Fremantle in 1985. They made a Swan Lager commercial about this guy. He made our Redheads team of the century. He is a 3AW star, a 6PR star.
Yep.
He played for Footscray, the Bears and the Pies. Who am I talking about, Tone?
Wouldn't be Bluey McKenna, would it?
No, it's not Bluey McKenna.
Jeez, I'm in trouble at work now.
Brett
Shit.
Hardy.
Oh, I never see him around the building. I'm there overnight. Our paths never cross, and they won't now.
Bluey McKenna's a great nomination because he did wear the long sleeves on a lot of occasions, but Brad Hardy.
Apologies.
Oh, sorry.
Apologies, Brad. Very sorry about that.
Oh, but it's very funny. But Brad Hardy, one of the all-time greats, and the '85 Brownlow medalist. Another guy who was an extrovert. He was quite loquacious on and off the field. He was from Adelaide. He had a brother who was a superstar, but this guy, number 2 for the Crows.
Yeah.
Very good player.
An amazing player. I always get confused, though, as to which Jarman. It's either Andrew or...
It is Andrew.
Andrew. Can I tell you, when I worked on radio in Adelaide, he used to come in, and I've said this on this podcast before, he's one of the funniest men I've ever met.
That's a big rap coming from you.
No, he was seriously funny guy. Yeah.
And,
big character. And you're right. You know, imagine the course of the 97, 98 grand finals without the Jarmans or Andrew McLeod for that record, or for that matter. But yeah, just what an amazing contribution they made to those flags.
And a great nickname too, Andrew Jarman, Uncle Fester, because he had the bald bonce. But I digress. Another great Hawthorn fullback who was in also the conversation for the greatest fullback of all time, Kelvin Moore,
Ah,
number
yes.
15.
Yep.
He wore the gold Puma boots, recruited from Frankston, played 300 games, a great representative for Victoria in the State of Origin games, represented Victoria 13 times. So Kelvin Moore's in our team for sure.
No, that's nice work. All right, I've got 3% power here, Troy.
3%
doing
power.
magnificently.
Well,
I'm loving this list.
I'll run through these names.
All right.
Okay? So Ken Judge, Hawthorn.
Oh. Yep, future coach of Hawthorn, of course, as we know.
Father of superstar Geelong full forward Tom Hawkins, jumping Jack Hawkins, who wore number 26, and a terrific centre half back in his own right. This guy was a nighttime specialist, loved the lights, played for Fitzroy and Collingwood. His name was Lee Carlson.
Okay.
He kicked 4 goals in the 1980 elimination final against North Melbourne, one of his better games. A favourite of mine growing up, I used to go down to the Junction Oval watching this guy. Harvey Merrigan played for Fitzroy, 197 games, wore the big V, and a very, very dependable player. Robert Harvey.
Yes,
Speaking of champs,
of course.
he wore early on in his career as a younger guy. He wore the long sleeve jumper. So we've got Robert Harvey in our team of champs, long sleeve wise. Simon Atkins, who played for Footscray and the Lions, nicknamed the Axe, very skillful centreman. Brett Allison, who took a tremendous mark over Gavin Krasiska, just hung in the air at the MCG. He played for North Melbourne and the Swans. Bradley Plain, who played for Essendon, Collingwood and North Melbourne, very famous for his short sleeve wearing, a goal sneak, very dangerous around the goals. But Mark Roberts, who was the Fridge, nicknamed the Fridge, played a lot of his career at North Melbourne, also played with the Bears in South Melbourne. And Simon Minton Connell.
Oh!
You remember Simon Minton Connell?
The 4-club man.
And a very good player, Simon Minton Connell.
He was. Can we go through the 4 clubs he played for?
Well, you tell me. Well, obviously, we know the first one.
All right, Carlton, Footscray, Sydney. I'm thinking Hawthorn.
Yeah, he didn't play but he played for Sydney and Hawthorn, and obviously got his start at Carlton.
Yep.
And I just think at the time that Carlton had too many talls with a lot of ability who played forward, and he got squeezed out because Simon Minton Connell was a very, very good player, I thought.
Yeah, yep. Now, speaking of Carlton and long sleeves, there's one that I think you're missing.
I don't think I am. I'm waiting for you because I tend to hog this segment. So
I love it. Well, you're the man with all the knowledge. I give you the name one, Matthew Lappin.
I had him on he's on my list every day of the week, Matthew Lappin.
It's Skinny.
Skinny Lappin.
Player. And Ryan Houlihan, from memory, would wear long sleeves.
Ryan Houlihan, part of the Houlihan clan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he played a lot of football for the Mighty Blues. And I remember he started with the peroxide hair. And as he got older, Ryan, there we go.